keys, I'm about to unlock. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock.
All right. Well, here we are. We are doing a podcast. Got the camera, we got the Rode, we got the Amazon mic, and we got me, and we got a guest today.
This is official, man. I'm impressed.
This is a podcast. So today on the podcast, this will be pod 24. Give me the keys, pod 24. And today we have my great friend, Jake Stevenson, joining us on the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, man. This is exciting.
How's it feel to be on a podcast?
Honestly, I wasn't nervous until we got everything set up, and then I sat down. I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
I know, it's kind of, it is a little intimidating every time. I even get nervous when I've been doing them, like, you know, I've been doing a ton of them.
Right,
but
right.
It's just a little, it's like a good feeling of like excitedness though.
It's been cool to watch your confidence. Just, I mean, this is 24, so I remember the first podcast, listening to it, and you're just feeling it out and kind of riffing and just flowing, and then now I can definitely tell you're just getting more confident and having some more structure, having more fun with it. So I think that's awesome. It's cool to watch. Yeah,
having more of a direction I want to go in to start.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still in that early, 3 to 4 minutes. I fidget with the mic all the time because I don't know why, but I fidget. I want it because I can hear it in the headphones, and I want it to be like a good level. I almost feel like I need to kick on a little juice. For me? Yep. That's better. But yeah, we're settling in. The podcast is rolling, and what do you want to talk about?
Man, where do we start? I feel like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people obviously know you from this podcast. They're here because of you. So they probably have no idea who the hell I am. Yeah,
maybe we should create some context, some background. So me and Jake, we're friends. We've been friends for a good, what was it, 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
We just talked about this. So
yeah, 5 years.
5 or 6 years.
Wow.
That's pretty good friendship. Do you want to tell the people kind of how we met?
From what I remember, I mean, meeting Alec, we both went to Western Kentucky University. So I was studying marketing and entrepreneurship and had an entrepreneurship class. And I don't even remember how we initially met. I think I just saw you and we started talking. Did we have a group project? Or
I remember how we first met. It was in Enactus, which was an entrepreneurship group at Western Kentucky. And it was like my first or second time showing up to the meeting. I was kind of just feeling it out.
Yeah. And
it was a day where you guys were presenting like a business idea. And you got up in front of the class, or it was only like 12 of us, but you got up in front of everybody and you had like this pitch on this inflatable business. And what was the business exactly? The inflatables?
Oh gosh, I think it was like Bounce BG or something. BG Bounce, something like that. So was this like recruiting for Enactus? Was this just like an entrepreneurship class?
It was just like the first class that I was a part of, or I attended, the meeting.
Yeah.
And then you presented, and I remember I thought like the business idea was cool. And I remember after, like, we'd all dismissed, and I like tapped on your shoulder in the hallway, and I was like, hey, that was like pretty cool idea. I like that. And I think we just started small talking from there.
Yeah. I think the most vivid thing that I can remember is just texting, like the initial conversations that we had over text. I could just tell there was instant chemistry. Like we just spoke the same language. We had the same interests in business, entrepreneurship. We were both driven. And you were a little older, so I kind of looked up to you and was just kind of curious, like, man, you're kind of getting into the real world, and you've gone through a lot of the classes that I'm in. Like, I wanted to kind of pick your brain and kind of hear your story a bit. So I just remember being in the dorms with Connor and just telling Connor, like, man, I made a new friend. His name's Alec. Like, we're texting. This is cool.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it was a time, because it was my senior year, and I had a lot of like stuff going on. Honestly, wasn't in that good of a space, but I feel like it was mutual like excitement to be like making a new friend.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't have many friends at that time. It was just, I was a 5th year senior, and a lot of old friends I had graduated and moved. So I remember I was like excited too. I'm like, yeah, I like this guy Jake. Like,
Yeah.
he's and we just had that business background.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so snowballed from there. I think we had hit a couple lifts at the gym on campus. I remember we had hung out in the dorm with Connor. I think we had watched like some movies, played some video games. I think you would drink like Monsters back then, or you were drinking like energy drinks and stuff. And
That's funny.
yeah, it was pretty just like a friendship just said blossom. And then fast forward to 2019, I had graduated from Western, and I was planning to stay in our college town, and we kind of just became roommates. We decided to go in together on an apartment. And
Yeah. It worked out perfectly. I mean, the timing was, it was spring semester, I guess, of 2019, and Connor and I were getting out of the dorms, and we were looking for a place to stay. And I know that your lease was coming to an end. You had your own place, and it just kind of naturally worked out. I mean, it was a unique time. I feel like a lot of people, it's a lot of stress and pressure to figure out your living situation, find an apartment, and it just worked out perfect. Me, you, Connor, we found a great townhouse like 5 minutes from campus, and those are some of my favorite memories, just living in that house, just having fun. And we were all creative in our different ways, so it was just a creative house. It was fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those. We were there for what, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, we were all into like our own creative things. I was doing like music at the time. You and Connor were into the photography, video,
yeah.
drones. You guys were always flying drones. I think at one point I had a mini drone that I flew in the house. But yeah, so I mean, so that's kind of how our friendship developed. And then I feel like once we both got into door-to-door, that is when our friendship kind of went to a different level.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Because you graduated in 2020.
Yeah, right when COVID hit. Yeah, that's when I graduated, and I think like the last few weeks of school, we got thrown online, and a lot of just uncertainty, and I didn't really want to go down a corporate 9-to-5 route, and I don't know, I just had a passion for entrepreneurship, wanting to be my own boss, own my own business at some point. And that's when I got connected with AMP at a career fair, and ran into Dylan, and we just started talking, and I was just thinking like, man, this is a no-brainer. I want to get sales experience, the income potential in 4 to 5 months, selling over the summer. Like, sure, this job sounds crazy, but I mean, if I can make that kind of money and get this sales experience while I'm young, like let's do it. Let's give it a shot. So I remember, everything was shutting down, and just taking the chance and deciding to go out to Texas for that summer, and completely life changing. But when you think back to that time in 2020, what were you kind of going through? I know that like you were working Fruit of the Loom. You had kind of landed that gig right out of college, and you were kind of happy with it. You were kind of following the footsteps of what you'd pursued in college, but then it kind of got to a point where it felt like you were kind of burnt out and not really enjoying it, not really happy. You're like, man, is this, I busted my butt all through college just to kind of be in a cubicle and
it was definitely
crunch numbers.
Definitely like a coming to terms with, I've given an honest attempt at this career in accounting. I've worked a lot of different type of accounting jobs, and I'm just coming to terms with, I need to be honest with myself, and I don't like this. And so I was an accountant for about a year, from like summer 2019 to early 2020, and then, COVID broke out, the country shut down, society shut down, and I remember my company furloughed me, and I just thought it was like a blessing in disguise, because I was like, great, I don't, it's weird because there's a pandemic and the state of the country is up in the air, but at the same time, I'm not having to go into this job and like be super miserable. It was like a break in the schedule.
Yeah.
And so I remember being laid off and furloughed when you were just graduating, and you were embarking on the door-to-door, and you're like, I'm going to Austin, Texas, and it's this door-to-door thing, and I'm selling alarms, and I'm like, that sounds crazy. Like, and then honestly, we should talk about driving out to Austin, Texas.
Well, I'm trying to think why we even decided, like why you decided to tag along. Because I had to drive from Bowling Green, Kentucky to Austin, Texas, where I was selling that summer. And I guess you got furloughed, so you had time to kill. You're like, man, I'm collecting unemployment. Like, I'm down for a road trip. And
I had really no business going. Like, I didn't really have like a good reason. I was bored, and I was like, dude, I'll road trip. Like, why not road trip? There's nothing else going on. It's a pandemic. But yeah, so I decided to roll with you to Austin, Texas, and we drive separately because you needed your truck. You know, once you got there, you needed a way to get around, and I needed a way to get back. So it wasn't even really like a road trip together. It was like, we're going to drive next to each other.
It was a caravan, And we grabbed some barbecue. I remember when we got to Texas, we grabbed some authentic Texas barbecue. It was great. And then I guess it was probably like an hour away from the Airbnb where we were headed. My car just like the electronics completely shut down. Like the car was still driving, but like all the dash was out. Like my radio was out. I'm like, what the hell? And just remember pulling over and then shutting it off, and then it wouldn't start. I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad Alex here.
Yeah. So his truck basically shuts down. We were about an hour and a half from Austin, and it was like rainy. I remember like taking a picture of you. I'll put the picture up here of Jake like sad seeing his truck get hauled away. And but I did come in handy being there because I was like, this is why I'm here. This is why I came. And Jake hops in your truck got towed to a nearby shop to get worked on.
Right.
And I'm like, no big deal. I'll drive you the rest of the way. I had an Airbnb. It was a Saturday. I remember I had an Airbnb to myself. So I was like, I'll just take you to the house, help you settle in. And then, if I need to stay a couple days till your truck's ready, we can do that, because I had nothing going on. So it was cool. We drive to Austin, and I wanted to ask you, what were you like thinking going into that? Like, you had expectations of what AMP would be, but then when we got to that Airbnb in Austin, Texas, what were your initial thoughts?
That's a good question. I mean, I was definitely nervous, but I was also so excited just because I'd never done something like this before. It was definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone. And I think in the last few years of college, that's probably what I learned the most. There was a sales class I took. I think it was probably it was like the fall semester of my last year. And Chris Derry, I remember him, super energetic guy. He had the bolo tie, would come in like right on time and like super enthusiastic. And then he would teach the class. And then at the end or later in the week, we'd have to teach what he taught us to the class, and he would score us based on our presentation skills. He'd record it, and then we'd have to go watch it in a booth and grade ourselves. We had to watch ourselves on a video.
That sounds terrible.
But yeah, it
sounds like my nightmare of a class.
Extremely uncomfortable. So I feel like I learned a lot in that class, and it just really pushed me to, man, I see a ton of growth when I put myself in these uncomfortable situations. So I've never done sales, never done direct sales. I've always considered myself as an introvert. And yeah, going into it, I honestly, I think I was pretty naive. I was just like, let's just give this a try. I got nothing else. Let's see what this is about. There's a stipend, free rent for the first 4 weeks. So I got really nothing to lose. If this doesn't work out, I'll just go home, and I have a couple of other gigs I can just go back to.
Right. Yeah. It was like, worst comes to worst, I fail and learn in the process.
Yeah. Exactly.
Try something else. Yeah. What was it like living in a house with other door-to-door reps? Like, how did you adjust to that living environment?
Yeah. That's another thing I didn't really think of going into it. I remember talking to the manager, and they just kind of explained like, yeah, it's like usually apartment style housing, and like you'll have a bedroom, or you'll have an apartment with like 4 guys, 2 bedrooms, 2 guys in each bedroom. And I was just like, okay, I can make that work. But when we roll, when we roll up though, I mean, we pull up to this massive Airbnb. It's like a compound. It's like a mansion.
It's a mansion. Yeah. It was nice.
We go in, and then there's like 30 college kids running around. And I think we probably showed up on like a Friday or like a Saturday or something.
Saturday.
And they had just finished their sales day, and they're all kind of celebrating in a way.
It was a
like,
Saturday night.
It was a party. Like we rolled up, and they're all partying, and they're like, "Oh, welcome, new guys! Like, what's up?"
Yeah.
And yeah, it was interesting.
And everyone there assumed that I was just like a part of the team, and that I was there to sell, and I had to explain like, not exactly. I'm kind of just here. Jake's truck broke down. I hate my accounting job. And then you introduced me to Dylan. I remember Dylan, comes out of the woodwork. He's like, "Hi, nice to meet you." He's like, "I have a degree in accounting, marketing, entrepreneur." Like, he's like, "I got 4 degrees. I got 1 in finance." And he's selling me right away. He's like, asking what I do, and he's just making conversation. But I know where he's going. I know his mindset at the time. I'm some guy that's there, but I'm not there to sell. He's gonna try and get me on board. I was a good candidate.
It made perfect sense. Yeah, you were out of work. You made the You made the drive. You're already there. So
yeah, I had not imagined the possibility of like getting recruited, but it was so weird because I really didn't have a choice. I was like, well, I'm here. I have to stay here for 2 more days till Jake's truck's finished.
Right.
You guys are selling on Monday. Like, I was like, Dylan, it was like Saturday night. I was like, Dylan, just give me like, Sunday to think about it. Maybe let me talk to some other people here. Like, let me just see, you scope it out. And then, I remember come Monday, I was like, I'll try it. Like, I'll try it. Dylan gets me the paperwork. All of a sudden, I remember that Monday, there's a big meeting, and I'm like, can I get a polo? Like, and it was just so. I honestly had no idea what to expect. I feel like you were a little more prepared because you had been through the trainings and stuff.
Yeah, practicing.
But what did you make of that first day? Like, what was going through your mind? Were you kind of nervous, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, you're in a car group. I remember being with like, I don't know, in Dylan's car with 2 or 3 other guys, and dropped them off at the area. I think he dropped me off last, and he was kind of coaching me. He's like, "All right, let's practice your pitch real quick. Like, let's roll through it." And I had it down pat. Like, I had the pitch, but I didn't know like what an actual conversation or interaction would be like. So I remember my first door, I walked up, and it was these people. We were in Killeen, Texas, so we drove like an hour north, and it's like a military base. So I got thrown into this neighborhood, and like half the houses there are like renters, like from military people. But I remember seeing these people outside. They were just like sitting in their driveway, and they had like the boat pulled out or whatever. So I just walk up. I'm like, "Hey, nice boat, cool." And then just went right into my pitch, fumbled through it. And they're like, "Not interested." I'm like, "Okay, thanks. Have a good day." And just walked away. And then I felt like a lot of pressure came off. I'm like, all right, I got the first one under my belt. And then really just fell in love with the process of just like getting to know people and just being genuine, being super nice. Even if people are assholes and like telling you to get lost, no soliciting, not interested, whatever, just always having that mindset of I'm going to make sure that I'm treating people with respect and that, I don't know, I want them to have a good experience and interaction with me. I don't want to be the annoying salesman that's just trying to push a product. But then it was the second door I knocked. The lady answered the door, and then she's like, well, actually, we just moved here. We might be interested in this. And then called Dylan, and Dylan's like, dude, I just dropped you off. Like, what the heck? I have to turn around, and he's like, this guy's crushing it. So he pulls up, and then we talked to her, and I remember they went back and forth negotiating this, and he ended up pretty much giving the alarm for free to her. He like lowered the rate all the way down, but he did it, I guess, just for me to kind of see the process and for me to just feel, I don't know, get good about it.
Get some traction, and just see that there's success to be had.
Yeah. So I kind of got lucky in a way, but I think that definitely boosted my morale. Like first day out, second door, got an apprentice deal, and I don't know. I just went into the rest of the day and the week just excited, just like, man, I'm going to learn a ton.
Yeah. I remember my first day too.
Yeah.
I shadowed
completely different.
I shadowed Johnny, that guy. I think it's Dylan's brother, right?
Stepbrother, yeah.
Stepbrother. And he's a cool guy, I like Johnny, but I feel like we had different personality types, like we had different styles of communication. But dude, we park his, like, the dude drove like a maniac. Like, he was like whipping around turns, he was skirting, like his car was falling apart. He was drinking like 3 Red Bulls on the way. I'm like, this guy is on one. But we pull up to area. He's like, yeah, you're going to shadow me. I think we knocked on one door, no answer. Knocked on a second door, no answer. The third door, knock. Johnny hits him with the approach, gets inside, does the walkthrough.
Right.
We get to the sit down. The dude buys an alarm from him on the like literally the first person we talked to. And I remember I'm sitting there watching this, like, how is this guy doing, like, how is this possible? And Johnny was, dude, he was so good at just building rapport, but also just like BSing with the customer, just talk, like shooting the breeze. And I remember like he was just he would crack so many jokes, and I could tell that the customer like appreciated that. So I was seeing firsthand how humor and like getting people to smile and laugh is like such an important part of the job. Yeah. And Johnny did this crazy thing. You know how when like we would close an alarm and we'd say like, yeah, we just asked like 3 things from you. Yeah. He does this. He's like, yeah, first, don't tell anyone that you're a marketing home, whatever. Like, you know the drill. But then the third one, he's like, and lastly, we just ask that we can paint Amp Smart on your garage door. And maybe I shouldn't be saying the company, but the customer's like, really? He's like, okay. And Johnny's like, yeah, like it's just gonna be like a pretty blue color, just covering most of the garage. And the guy's like, really? Okay, like how much of it? And Johnny's like, let's go take a look. And we all get up from the table, walk out the front door in front of the garage door. And I'm like, dude, when are you gonna tell this guy you're messing with him? And he's like, yeah, it'll be like right here. And it's literally like going on for 5 minutes, and this guy's going along with it. He's like, that, I guess we can do that. Like, I don't see why we can't paint it. And you know, he like tells him he's kidding or whatever. But I just remember that was like a mind blowing, like to see that, just like being thrown into door to door, like literally putting on a polo, like, okay, I'm pretending I'm doing this job kind of, and then to get out there and like see a deal and see him make like whatever it was, like $400 on the spot. I'm like, that's wild. Yeah, that would take me a whole week to do what this guy did in an hour. So yeah, and then so we had our first day on Monday. I remember I was still just like, this is too crazy for me to just never go home. Like, I didn't bring any like of my stuff. Like, I had no intention of staying. And I remember it was like, I was really torn. I could definitely tell. I guess what was the biggest reason you decided not to? Was it like the living situation, or you were just thinking like, man, logistically this doesn't make sense. I don't have any of my stuff. Like, I have a job. Yeah, I think it was logistically. Also, I think it was the living situation in Austin. I don't think I would have thrived there. I think I was sleeping on a couch. I'm like, this isn't going to be good for me. And then also the ease of everything back home of like, I'm laid off. I'm literally collecting unemployment. Like, I have this house to my, like, I have this whole space that's my own. I can work on music.
You didn't really mentally prepare for living across the country for the summer, knocking on doors.
Dude, like, what was I going to tell like all my friends back in college? Like, hey, it just would have been too much change all at once. So I remember like Tuesday, your truck was done. We had to drive back towards Kentucky, like back up that route. And I remember I had like packed all my stuff and I was ready to go, and I like broke the news to you on the way there. It was like really dramatic. I was like, do you remember what I said? I don't even kind of remember.
Was it a phone call or a text?
No, we were sitting in the car together, and I was like, so I got to tell you something.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, it kind of felt like my dad just left me. Like, you were like dropping me off. You're like, hey, like I'm not sticking around. Peace out. Good luck.
It did feel
like we were like 5 minutes away from the truck place, and you're like, hey, by the way, I already got all my stuff. Like, this is the end. This is the end of the road for us.
Yeah.
Peace out. I was just thinking,
yeah.
like, man, am I ever going to see Alec again?
It was like 2 months you were gone. But yeah.
It felt that way. Yeah, I was just like, man, that's a bummer. But
I did feel bad leaving you because I'm like, it's a lot
Yeah.
there for Jake.
it was
to be
comforting
alone.
to have you there, but at the same time, I think that in a way, you being there probably would have been, I don't know, a crutch of me not really getting out of my shell and like really building the relationships that I had built with the other guys, like the other sales guys there that I still love and have great relationships today. So yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah, I think it was for the best. I felt like some tough love because I didn't tell you before, but I didn't want to tell Dylan or you because I knew it would have been like crabs in a bucket. Like, he's trying to leave, get him there again. Like, so I was just like, I made this decision. I honestly got a lot of advice from like people back home. I think I called Asia too. We were friends, and I'm like, hey, here's the situation. What do you think I should do? And a lot of people, they gave me freedom to make my own choice, and that's what they encouraged me to do, is like, do what you think is best for you. And I thought about it a lot, and I was just like, I feel like my heart's telling me I need to go back home.
Yeah.
So I made that decision, drop you off at your truck, and I'm like, dude, this is your thing. Like, I felt a little bit like I would have been impeding on your thing.
Sure.
Because this was your journey. And, and I feel like it worked out for the best. I feel like you got more out of the summer.
Yeah.
And you probably grew a lot more being completely surrounded by a new group of people.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we were there in that house for, I guess, like another month.
Yeah, and y'all had like a great summer too, right?
Yeah, and then we traveled all across Texas, south of Austin, Temple, Kyle. Then I think towards the end of the summer, like we had a month or two left, we went up all the way up to Waco, Texas, and finished the summer strong and just was really happy. Just I was proud that it felt like I was kind of like one of the last standing rookies. Like, you start out with a house full of like 30 college kids and maybe 10 experienced reps or so.
Yeah.
And then they're dropping like flies. Like in the first few weeks, like they're just like, man, this isn't it. Like, my grandma died, I got to go home. Like, that's the excuse.
Yeah.
And, and I was just really proud that I had achieved, like, man, I finished this summer and I made decent money and I feel like a different person. Like, my confidence, I know how to communicate a lot more effectively. Just starting a conversation with a stranger, I would have never done that, like, a couple years before that summer. So, life-changing.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely improved all those skills. You grew in your extroversion, I think, doing that job, because that's what I noticed when I started too. But that summer in Austin, who were some of the people that you really connect with on the team? Like, who were some of the standout people that you grew close with?
Yeah, I definitely think Dylan was a huge influence. He poured so much time and energy into really training me and making sure that I found success, and I really appreciate that he took extra time, and I could definitely tell that he would drop me off last. I felt like every day I'd be in his car group a lot. He'd drop me off last. He'd be like, all right, man, let's talk through, like, how's it going? Like, what are you running into? What objections are you getting stuck on? Like, let's work through this together. And he really took really good care of me. So I really appreciate the mentorship and support from Dylan. And then just other rookies that I really bonded with, like Ryan McComas, great friend. Shout out Ryan. But yeah, just like all kinds of different walks of life. I feel like it really opened my eyes to the different backgrounds that people have and where they come from, because I had grown up in Louisville in this little bubble and middle class, and then you're exposed to people that, I don't know, have had all these like struggles growing up and different upbringings and tough childhoods, and that this job of sales and door-to-door, like, it's make or break for them. Like, they're doing this to provide for their family. And for me, I was kind of coming at it like, I'm just going to approach this like self-improvement. Yeah. So it really broadened my horizon of the world and people and different backgrounds, and especially being on the doors. You run into so many different types of people, old people, young people, different political backgrounds. So just learning how to communicate with those people I think is a life skill that everyone should have and develop. And so many great relationships. Maddie and Chief, Jocelyn, just people that I still talk to today.
So many great people were in that office, like, that I met. I remember meeting Ryan. I remember him cooking chicken and like him just telling me all about his life and what he wanted to do. I remember meeting Jack and his little British accent.
Jack,
like, wow, this guy. Where's this guy from? And then, Maddie, Chief. I remember Chief was like going hard on the games. Some things never change, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Jocelyn, I think her sister Lauren was there too. And then Dylan, Kevin, Brand, like all those guys. And it was funny to see them for like 2 days and then to go away and then to come back from Nashville and see them all again. Like, it was just kind of crazy.
I'll definitely add, completely forgot about Jack. How can I forget Jack?
Yeah, I was Jack. I asked who you connected with.
I wanted to save the best for last. No,
yeah.
he was a huge influence. Mad respect for Jack. Dude is crazy hard worker, great friend. Great. He was, honestly, we were accountability partners and we were competing that whole summer. I think that the reason I achieved what I had achieved in that summer was a huge part was because of Jack. Like, we were obsessed. Like, we role played nonstop. We knocked together. We worked on Sundays when that was your off day. Just like really trying to figure out how we can get better at this. And I remember the first week we were there, like I think we went to like grab some beer or something and he tagged along and just like instantly made a connection. And it was just like, we're going to tough this out. Cause we started to notice like people were falling off, like, and we're like, man, I want to make this work. And so do you. And like, let's hold each other accountable. Let's compete. Like, if I find success, I'm going to help you. And, he was the number one rookie that summer at AMP. And, just a fantastic guy. So shout out Jack. Love you, man. He's doing great things with a different company, still doing door-to-door, still crushing it, setting records, industry leader. So
yeah, Jack's a baller. Let's hype up Jack. I remember just meeting him. Just instantly I could tell he's got charisma. He just has that. He's got that charm. Something about Jack, he's just got that charm. But he's also extremely intelligent. He's a very psychological person. Like, I knew that right away when I met Jack.
He's deep, yeah.
I'm like, he's smart and he's charismatic. He's got this accent that just comes out sounding like music to your ears. And I remember just his drive, and I could tell from even just meeting him like 2 days in Austin, like his drive to just want to learn. He's going to figure it out no matter what it takes. And I'm like, respect, bro. Yeah. But I think I'm going to go home to Kentucky real quick.
So tell me about your summer. I feel like I never really heard what you ended up doing that summer. So I'm gone from May till probably like, was it October? Maybe
late
September.
October, yeah.
I think it was September.
You want to know about my summer?
Yeah, what'd you do? So you go back home, and then what do you do?
Nothing. Like, I literally didn't have work. And the society was shut down. I couldn't do anything. I think I spent a lot of time in my apartment. I was really getting in depth on learning music at the time. I was hanging out with friends, still going to church, still a part of the church. But it was pretty slow living. It wasn't like, I remember getting back to Kentucky and feeling a little bit like, man, did I make the wrong choice? Like, should I be pursuing that opportunity? And it was just, I was really torn about it. But I feel like that experience in Austin, like, planted the seed in my mind of, well, what's stopping me from going out and selling next season? I felt like it's good for Jake to maybe just do the summer. He's committed to it. When he finishes the summer, I'll see how he does. Like, because I knew your situation pretty well. I knew what you were in down there, and I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen. Yeah. And I remember you came back in October, and you had nothing but really positive things to say about the job. Mm-hmm. Like, how would you rate like the success of your first summer selling door to door?
I definitely. That's a good question. I think money-wise, like, I was very satisfied because it was probably the most money that I had made in that short period of time. Like, I don't know. I was used to making like $50,000 $15,000 a year working like 2 jobs. And then in a summer I made like 25. I'm like, holy crap, like I'm good. Like I don't have to really grind or bust my butt working an hourly job. So it really just took off of pressure and just coming home. And obviously Connor was still in school. So just like, I don't know, just kind of living the college life and just enjoying like living in the house with you guys, and obviously dating Jillian. So just had a lot of time to kind of hang out. And then I don't know, the season kind of continued through blitzes. So
extension and
I had stuff to look forward to. Like we were in Nashville a couple weeks, and then we went to like Colorado and stuff. So that was like exciting to me, like being able to travel and go to different places I had never been before. I think that was the biggest draw for me, just being able to travel, and having work as an excuse to like pay for it. So yeah,
it's a pretty great mixture to be growing in your confidence in sales, to be making money faster than you've ever been able to, and then to also be traveling and experiencing new parts of the world. Like that's a pretty dynamic thing. It's so contrary to what we think we're going to have to do when we graduate college. It's like, settle down, get a regular job, and just kind of truck through that.
I feel like that's the American standard in a way. I feel like I've heard that in other countries and other cultures that they encourage like a gap year, like taking, I don't remember if it's between high school and college or after college, where it's kind of like, hey, take a year to yourself and travel, like figure out who you are, like what you want to do. And in a way, I feel like that's what Door to Door was for me, just being able to learn about myself and just like, I don't know, travel and experience different things. So yeah.
So let's fast forward there. Let's put a bookend on the Door to Door thing. So 2021 rolls around. I remember we did a blitz out in Lake Havasu. It was my first time intentionally doing Door to Door. And I remember it's like a 5-day blitz. I think I got a couple deals. Dylan kind of did the same thing. He like really mentored me, showed me that there's a lot of, you can be logical and analytical and ethical at Door to Door. And I remember I resonated with that because it was kind of against what you think Door to Door is. You think of like a pushy salesman just trying to make a couple bucks or whatever. But I remember that was a good experience. I remember after that, I was like, I was seeing the benefits you were seeing. Growing in confidence, making money, traveling. Okay, I'm down. And I remember I put in my 2 weeks at the accounting job. And then that summer, we were selling in Nashville, Tennessee. And that was my first summer, and kind of gathered all the sentiments that you felt in Austin. Mm-hmm. It was like camaraderie, surrounded by other driven people, growing in my interpersonal communication skills, making money at a rate that's hard to do in other industries. And so we did a summer in Nashville. We were roommates through that year down in Brentwood, Tennessee. So we were still close.
Shout out Alex Winchelbaum. He's the man.
I wanted to call
interesting
him.
Roommate.
I wanted to call him Wienerbaum. No, I love Alex. Good dude, driven guy. And Laddie. Met Laddie that summer. There was a lot of good guys. Gabe. So many good people that summer too. And we all grew, and there was ups and downs. There was days where people were downtrodden and couldn't figure it out, and then highs where people were selling 9-10 accounts in a week. And so our friendship really kind of, I feel like that solidified us, like being like, dare I say, lifelong friends. Because it was like we're heading the same direction in our lives, in terms of our careers and our passions and things like that.
We had a good routine too. I mean, going to the gym, disc golfing, we had a lot in common to kind of bond over and just kind of get away from work in a way, and have shared interests. So that helped.
And like you said, just a lot of shared interests. Disc golf, Rocket League, creative things. I'd be working on music, or you'd be editing video, or and then the gym too. I felt like that was a huge bonding point for us, just to have that in common too. So, and then we did a second summer down in Savannah, Georgia, and yeah, door to door has changed our lives. It's like definitely been a pivotal moment for me coming from the accounting thing. And I feel like it's a framework that I want to stay within in terms of work for as long as I can.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. We're at 42 minutes in already.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a lot?
This is flying by.
Flying by. What were some other things that we wanted to tell the people? What were the keys we wanted to give the people, Jake? We had a long list. We had a super long list of stuff that we wanted to talk about. I felt like we covered the door-to-door thing. For sure.
Nailed it. Yeah.
What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
Oh, man. I guess we could talk about why I'm here this trip. It was kind of spontaneous. I remember beginning of this year, was listening to a podcast, and they were just talking about the importance of having just a solid group of guys that you can be around and just meet with often, just to kind of talk about life, business, relationships, whatever it is. And I know, Alec, I think you had posted something about like reading and the books that you'd planned out for the year. So I hit you up and I'm like, hey man, like, are you interested in like having a book club or just like talking? I don't know, hopping on Zoom, catching up, because I feel like we hadn't really talked in a while. We'd kind of, I was back home in Louisville, you're out here in Colorado, so it was a good excuse for us to kind of catch up, and started Zooming, talking like a couple times a week. And then first book we read was Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life. 12 Rules for Life. Yep. And yeah, great book.
Yeah, we read that in January. Just a couple months ago, ago.
And then, yeah, you just said, hey, like, he's coming to Colorado Springs to speak. Like, is that something you'd be interested in? So pulled up flights, booked a flight for $80. I'm like, let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Perfect excuse. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like how we had, since I moved out here, like I feel like we're both in different stages. Like you just got married, you bought a house, and then I'm out here in Colorado, working for I'm in a different industry in solar now. Yeah. So it was just kind of like, you know, the distance, we hadn't talked as much. And then when you were like, hey, we should read together or like do a book club, I was like, dude, that's a great idea. So we would just read and then Zoom about it. And then, lo and behold, Jordan Peterson is going to be in Colorado tonight. He's literally going to be here.
We're going to see him in a couple hours.
Yeah, we're going to see Jordan Peterson in Colorado Springs in like, 4 hours. Yeah. So it's crazy. You flew in, so let's create some more context for what we're doing now. It's early March. Jake flew in on Saturday night in Denver. Drove up there, swooped ya. Do you want to tell the people about yesterday? Just the stuff that we got into yesterday?
Yesterday was a full day. I mean, I feel like if I'm in Colorado, got to make the most of it and just, I don't know, exercise, have fun, just like go on hikes. So we were trying to plan out the trip. I said, I want to go on a hike. I want to disc golf. I want to hit a brewery. So, I mean, we did all of that in one day.
Did all of that.
Yeah. We started out by waking up early. Asia tagged along. We went disc golf. I fell apart at the end.
I beat Jake, yeah.
Unfortunately. I was winning.
It was super close. The first 14 holes, I think you were up a stroke. It was even. You were up a stroke, and then you kind of just crumbled there at the end, man. It was hard. It was hard to see. I think you ended with 2 double bogeys, and
I missed a putt, and it shook my confidence.
Yeah, he hit a couple doinks and went all downhill from there.
Yeah.
We disc golf with Age. We had breakfast, got coffee, disc golf, came back, changed. We went to Red Leg Brewery. What'd you think of that?
Cool spot. I wish we had stuff like that back home, and maybe we do. I don't know, but really cool spot. Just different. It was like shipping containers and stuff, and they had a little. It was kind of like food trucks in a way, but they're in these shipping containers, and they had pizza, burgers. You grab a beer. Kids running around. Cool.
Big turf field.
Cool atmosphere. Yeah.
Yep. And then from there, we hit a hike in the mountains, and we had a blast, dude. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Beautiful out there too.
Great. And then we hit the hot tub. That was a great way to wrap up the night.
Great day, full day.
And this is normal for you. I mean, you do this on the every week, once a week, right?
Yeah, no, I still enjoy it though, for sure. But it's actually like I get a lot of enjoyment from like my friends coming out and being able to like share this with them and show them,
right?
Like all that. You know, it's fun to host people. I'm growing in my hospitality since moving out here. Yeah, because that's never really had a place that's good for hosting, but. I mean,
this place, you can't beat this place. This is awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so if any other friends want to come out, I got you. I got the spare bedroom. I'll give you a full Colorado experience. But, yeah, and then today we woke up, went downstairs, worked on some stuff, went and got a lift at Vasa, hit some back, and then went and got Chipotle. Now we're doing a podcast, and then we're going to see Jordan Peterson. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we're in the now. We're in the present. And
yeah, one thing. So me and Jake were at Chipotle, and he was telling me, we were talking about what we wanted to talk about, and he brought up that he wanted to talk about the present moment, the present now. And I want you to elaborate on what you meant, because I don't know what that means to you.
Yeah, no, I think when I first think about like the now and the present and Alec and this whole podcast, I don't remember when it was. I guess it was probably like 3 or 4 months ago. You'd called me out of the blue and you're just like, hey man, I just want to catch up with you. And you're like, man, I'm just like really appreciating the now and being present with Asia. And I'm like, man, good for you. That's awesome. Yeah. And then you started talking about this podcast idea and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see how that makes sense. Like you're into making music and like audio skill. It's just in writing. So it's kind of like marrying the two, like just having a place to put your thoughts. And so I was encouraging you. I'm like, yeah, dude, let's do this. Like I'll help you however I can. And the first podcast came out and I'm like, it's just you talking about the now for 20 minutes. I'm like, man, Alec is he's living his best life out in Colorado. So but it made me appreciate like, man, I should reflect on the now as well. Like I should be present and not get caught up in the day-to-day of stress about work or trying to make money, pay bills, making sure that people are happy, but just appreciating, I don't know, like the background and your upbringing and being present and appreciating, I don't know, who you are and how lucky you are and how blessed, like all the things that you have. So yeah, it's important to remember that. Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I feel like in our lives we feel like we have to work up to a point where we can be happy. It's like we're all working towards this stage of life where, whether that's retirement, whether that's finding the partner you want to be with, like we all work up to this future mindset of like, when I get here, when I get the right job, when I get this amount of money, I'll be content. Yeah. And I think what the now, like focusing on just this present moment, it's just literally sitting with gratitude and like feeling it with your whole presence. Like, and it sounds so odd to say it, but I felt like I got to a point in my life, and maybe it is a little bit of something that you do work to, but once you get to a certain point where all this hard work, all this effort, you actually get to that, you actually realize the goals you've been working towards. I felt like I had reached that, and I reached a point where I had really no other reason other than just enjoy the present moment. It's like, you know, being out here with Asia, like living in Colorado, like finding the right job. Like it was a moment of just like, it's actually called self-actualization. It has a definition, it has a word. And I remember the pod broke through out of me experiencing this. And I've already talked about it so much on the other podcast, but I don't want to get too redundant on it. But it's this, I want you to read this and just like see if this makes sense. Oh gosh. I want a simple definition, not a Wikipedia. Technical difficulties.
Okay, here, I'll read this. It says, this might sound crazy, self-actualization is the highest level of psychological development where personal potential is fully realized after basic bodily and ego needs have been fulfilled. So for me, you know, it was like my past self, I was working towards this, like I don't want to be an accountant. I want to live somewhere that inspires me. And then it was like, fast forward 2 or 3 years, and it happened so quick. It was like the door-to-door thing was like a fast track. Remember the book, Fast Lane?
Yes, yes.
It was literally like connecting the dots from stuff I'd been like learning since I was in my senior year of high school going into college, where I was like, I embarked on this path. I started journaling. I started my commonplace book. I was like focused on entrepreneurship. And then it was like, all of a sudden, it was this extreme low of the pandemic and like a lot of other stuff too, like the living situation, the having to be an accountant, the pandemic. It was like this extreme low, and then all of a sudden it was like with door to door, it's just like I just shot up. And then it was like really shocking to me to have this feeling of realizing the potential that I've always believed deep down I could eventually get to.
It's confidence in yourself and feeling like you have purpose in a way. I think that's super important. I think that's something that I probably take for granted, but when I think of like being present and like living in the now, I kind of think of just like realizing your potential, like you said, and knowing like I need to enjoy this journey, not fixate on the goal that I'm trying to achieve of, I don't know, getting into real estate, investing in the stock market, whatever it is, or growing this business, but really falling in love with the journey and the relationships that you build along the way, like really becoming obsessed with learning and being curious about things. I feel like that should never end, even outside of college. So I feel like that's what I connect to it whenever I think of being present. And like you said, like that whole definition, I feel like that nailed it.
Well, what it does too is once I've had that experience back in November, it made me realize, I can achieve what I want. I can give myself permission to do whatever I want. And that's when the podcast started. I'm like, if I want to start a podcast and make it a good one, like it's a choice. If I choose to, it'll take time. It'll take, maybe a year, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 7, but it's like, I will get there if I aim at it. And it's like, it's this weird thing with 7, because I felt like 7 is like, if you work on something for 7 years, whether it's a passion or a career, I feel like it's this weird alignment of the perfect amount of time to like break through and achieve the success that you originally embarked on. It takes time. 7 years is long, but it's not that long. Like 7 years is going to come whether you want it to or not. The time's going to pass either way. So, so I just felt like I had this turning moment where it was like, I should do this podcast because, one, I'm extremely fit to do it. I have a background in writing music and sales, communication, storytelling, audio, like the technical stuff. I'm like, I can do this. Like, why not? And so that's kind of how all this has happened.
So I'm curious, we're 24 podcasts in. Besides this one, which one's your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast that I've done? Mine's number 9. Because it was just so... I remember listening back to it and I'm like, I honestly think I went too far with this one. Like, this is too crazy. And I remember I was with you at your place and some other guy called me like to check on me. Like an old friend I hadn't talked to in 2 years. And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, yeah, I am fine. And the podcast, that one was just so fun because
it was raw. I mean, it was
real and raw, but also I was leaning into the fact that I could like make it extreme and hyperbole and like entertainingly funny. Like I thought.
And I definitely just, I felt like, because I know you, I could see that you're playing this up. You're kind of leaning into it, and obviously, like the whole situation sucked. Like it wasn't a good situation, but I remember just laughing the whole time, like listening to that.
Oh yeah,
one.
dude. Yeah, Pod 9. Plug in Pod 9 again. Maybe I'll put a card this time.
Yeah,
card
click
to
the
it.
link below.
But stay here. Save that for watch later and stay right here. But what would you say is your most enjoyable podcast I've done? Because you've been listening to most of them.
No,
right?
I've listened to almost all of them. I'd say also be sure to like and subscribe. I mean, show the love.
Bang, and subscribe. Let's go.
But I think one of my favorites was the personality test one. That's always been interesting to me, just personality tests. And I remember doing like the DISC assessment for the sales class. And I know that's not one of your favorites, but it was interesting for me just to hear from this professor, like, who I am and like things that I need to be aware of. He was like, because of your combination of your DISC assessment, you need to learn how to fail fast. And I was like, oh man, like I'm going to take this and like make sure that I live by this. So yeah, I think that's so important to know who you are and like understand how you operate and how to communicate with people. And if you're an introvert, it's okay to have like your alone time. You're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just how you operate. Everyone's different. So I thought that was cool because I've never heard of the Big Five. I know that's one that you talk about the most, and recently took the test. And I don't know, I just enjoy hearing different I feel like I know you enough to, when you were breaking down your personality, it was interesting to see how that makes sense. And then talking about like your relationship with Asia and just how like you guys are polar opposites, but
in some
still
ways,
make it work.
Yeah. Well, we align on openness.
Yeah.
But we have some discrepancy in neuroticism. So, But yeah, the test, I've always been interested in psychology and personality, and obviously Jordan Peterson talks a lot about those two topics, which is why I'm such a big fan of him. And I remember when I took the Big Five, I remember if you understand what they indicate, it explains a lot about why you have certain emotions in certain settings, or why you are the way you are, why you have certain habits. And it's just very good, useful information to know, because you can apply that moving forward and have greater understanding of how to be a better friend or a better son, even like learning how to like, oh, the way that I am is different from my parents, and I can share this with my parents, or your relationship. So, but yeah, I was really happy that you took the Big Five. I've had a few friends take it. Asia's taken it. And so you took the test. What did you make of taking the Big Five?
It was interesting. I felt like there were some things that were spot on, and then some things I was like, no, I don't really know about that. Like one of them said I was like kind of more leaning extrovert, when I feel like every test I've taken has told me I'm an introvert. And I feel like, I don't know, I can relate to the introvert, just like wanting to have my alone time, and kind of social situation, like big social group settings kind of drain me. So I was kind of surprised to see that, but it kind of made sense because it wasn't heavily extrovert. It was like 60. So kind of in the middle. And I think I agreed with you when you said on the podcast, diving into this, that it's good to have a balance. Like you should be able to turn it on and be extrovert in some situations. And I think a lot of that probably comes from sales, pushing myself to communicate with people, and like the business that I'm building, just like reaching out and building this brand, having to be on camera. So I feel like I've definitely evolved to where I'm a little bit more extrovert, probably more than I think I am. But yeah, that was one that kind of surprised me. Yeah.
Well, I would say it makes sense given your background in sales. Like going and knocking on strangers' doors is going to cause you to grow in your extroversion.
Yeah.
Your willingness to engage with people. So, but I have your scores here. I'm going to read these out, and maybe we can just talk a little bit about each one just briefly. But so the Big Five, just to recap, it's 5 personality dimensions. It's agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, openness, and neuroticism. And Jake took the test. His results were, for agreeableness, he is a 26 on the scale of 0 to 100. Well, I think it's 1 to 100, or 1 to 99 rather. But you're 26, so you're pretty low in agreeableness, which means you're more of a disagreeable person. And I think that makes sense given, again, the sales background. You have to disagree with people.
I think that's changed though. I'd say growing up, like I was I don't know. I respected authority. I followed the rules. I didn't really get in trouble that much. Like my parents never really grounded me, so I felt like I was probably more agreeable. But then growing up and I don't know, just life experiences, and I feel like being an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be disagreeable. You have to kind of, I don't know, go the opposite way of the norm, and so that, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I think as people get older, they get more confident in what they know and believe, and so as you get older, you're more likely to say what you mean, say what you think, and be confident in saying that. So I think I think younger people are more agreeable. Women tend to be higher in agreeableness too. But I think over time for men, I think we become more disagreeable naturally.
Yeah.
And then if you're in door-to-door sales, you're basically disagreeing with every person you talk to in a way. Because how many people do you walk up to their door and say, hey, this is what I'm doing with this product? How many people are just like, yeah, I love that you're here to pitch me this product.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and then we talked about the extroversion. You're 60, so you're slightly above average. But I think you're balanced out. I think you have that duality of being a natural introvert, but you've learned extroversion over time.
Yeah.
I think I'm 50, so we're kind of right in that average zone, which is good. I think it's good to be balanced on that. Your conscientious score is crazy. You're a 91. For people that don't know, conscientiousness is how dutiful you are, how likely you are to set goals and pursue them diligently across time. It's how detail oriented you are. It's how prompt you are at arriving on time, and I believe it's the greatest predictor of life success over time. The higher you are in conscientiousness, the better, more success you'll see over time. So that's cool that you're 91. That's pretty daggone high.
I think thinking about the questions, just talking about like orderliness, cleanliness, is that where a lot of these questions, I guess, tie into, I guess this part of the personality is just that drives. And I think thinking back to like my childhood, just growing up, I don't know, I remember thinking like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I was thinking like, oh, maybe a doctor. I don't know. They make good money. And I was definitely money motivated. And remember talking to my stepdad, and he was just kind of talking me out of it. He's like, are you sure you want to go to school for 6 to 8 years and get into all this debt and stuff? And in high school, I definitely had a big shift of, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do that. What are my other options? And started to go down the rabbit hole of business, and took some business classes in high school. Then in college, took entrepreneurship, did a bunch of clubs, entrepreneurship, started a bunch of random companies that failed. So
you're taking on more responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's what conscientious people do, is they're more willing to embark towards a goal and be willing to fail in the process, keep moving forward, and stick to the patterns that they need to reach the goal.
Yeah. I think that's something that if you think about, is that like nature and nurture, like was I born this way, or did I kind of evolve and grow and learn this way? I think that score is definitely like grown over time. I was not always that confident, and I think just over the past few years, just the different ventures and failures that I've had is just kind of given me confidence in what I'm doing.
Yep, that's awesome, man. 91's great. And then openness, you're a little bit below average at 41 in openness. How did that make you feel when you saw that?
Remind me.
So openness is tied to IQ and creativity. So it's just basically, if you condense it down, it's how good you are at processing information in real time. And then, creativity has to do with like how witty you are, like how quickly you can think on your feet. And it's just one of those dimensions. It's actually the only dimension that's just really hard to influence. Your score is kind of just your disposition, and 41's not bad by any means. That's the average. I think the average for men is 45, the mean, so you're kind of right there in the middle.
I feel like that's accurate. I wouldn't say I'm like a genius by any means. Like I I don't know. I just listen to podcasts and try to surround myself with people that are more successful than me, and just like try to learn from others and just be curious. So I think that's why that number is lower, I guess. My brother, I'd be curious to see what his number is. He's a nerd, but he's like aerospace engineering, like got over a 30 on his ACT. I think I was like in the low 20s. So like I feel like that's pretty accurate, but I think my drive kind of makes up for it.
Well, typically there's a trade-off between conscientiousness and openness. Typically, if you're very conscientiousness, there tends to be a dip in the openness, and vice versa. Somebody that's super open a lot of time can struggle with having the discipline and conscientiousness. So I think the fact you're high in conscientiousness and low in openness, I think it's pretty common. But the reason can you think of why there might be a trade-off in conscientiousness for openness?
Not off the top of my head. I guess I can only think of like just like successful entrepreneurs in like the US. I don't know, like Mark Cuban. I'd be curious to see what his scores are. I don't know. Like what are your thoughts on the trade-off of that?
So the trade-off is typically centered around like conservative, like being conservative. That's conscientiousness. That's kind of playing by the rules, being detail-oriented, sticking to what works, being disciplined over time. And then openness is definitely more of a like progressive trait. It's like, let's shake things up. Let's try this new concept. So the duality is kind of conscientiousness is conservative, openness is more like progressive, new ideas. Right. So that's why there's that trade-off, because people tend to, politically, people tend to go to one side or the other, right? So that's why there's a trade-off. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. And then the last one, neuroticism. This one's crazy, dude. So neuroticism has to do with your negative emotion, has to do with how susceptible you are to feelings of anxiety or anger or sadness or depression. So it's on a scale of 1 to 99. If you're 99, you're freaking out. You're a sad boy, angsty boy. And then on the other end, that's where you are. Jake is a 1 in neuroticism. He's honestly the least neurotic person you'll probably ever meet.
Life's good. I don't
know. Yep. Why do you think you're so extremely low in that? Like, have you always been that way?
No, I definitely don't think I've always been like that. I think that I've definitely always had that mentality of, and Jillian hates when I say this, like, oh, like every time there's a problem or a big issue, my mindset is, this is temporary. Like, we're going to get through this and life's going to be fine. Like, this isn't the end of the world. Like, it's temporary. Yeah. So I feel like that's my approach on a lot of things. That sure, like this, oh, I missed my flight, or oh no, like something happened to like my career. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to recover from this. This isn't the end of the world. Like, I'm just going to keep moving forward and learn from my mistakes, and it is what it is. It's out of my control. I got to control the controllables. But I think that maybe the reason that score is so low right now is just I feel really confident where I'm at. Like, I'm married, got a house this past year. I feel like I've really locked in on the business that I'm building and the career that I'm developing. I just have a huge passion for that. So it's just an exciting time in my life, and I feel like there isn't a whole lot of uncertainty. So I'm just confident.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Stability will lower your negative emotion, and you're pretty stable. You got a house, married, you're fulfilled, it seems, by this new challenge of a new career path that you're embarking on. So checks out for sure. But I mean, 1's pretty low. Like, that's crazy. Like, you honestly, it's just your optimism of just like,
it is
it rolls off your shoulder. You're not getting too invested in the negative. You're just focused on the positive, and that's honestly a superpower. Like, if you talk to someone who's high in neuroticism, they would be like, wow, that would be nice. Like, if I didn't have to worry about all this stuff. But some people are just have a disposition where they're more susceptible to it. It's just kind of how it is. But if you take the test and you know where you are, you can be more aware of it, and then you can start to influence the score moving forward and be less neurotic. Or you can notice, oh, I took the test, I'm 87 in neuroticism, you know, this is just, I'm naturally more prone to focus on the negative. Maybe my awareness of this now can help me not do that so much, or I can recognize it and then let those thoughts go, type of thing. But what's interesting to me about the scores is between you and I is there's a ton of overlap. We're both pretty disagreeable. We're both average in extroversion. We're both higher in conscientiousness. We're both low in neuroticism. The only real discrepancy, I would say, is openness.
Yeah.
I'm like a 71, you're a 41. But that's interesting. It makes sense why we're friends.
Yeah.
So that's good to know, too. You're probably going to bond with people who share more of your big 5 traits. So interesting to know that. Because if you differ from someone a lot on the big 5, you guys aren't going to get along as much. You're not going to see the world the same way. You're going to have more conflict. And I feel like we're such good friends because we align so well.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting because I feel like in like your relationships, like with your spouse, a lot of times those traits are opposite. Maybe not all of them, but there are some pretty strong opposites. I feel like Jillian, for example, she's way more extroverted than me. Her what was the last one?
Neuroticism.
Her neuroticism is probably a lot higher than mine.
Well, you're a 1, so
yeah. So
technically, if there's 2,
balance in the relationship. Yeah. I feel like if you're identical in numbers, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear a relationship like that's like that and how it is. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, when you're at the extreme, like you're down there at the extreme low, like you have to think about it in terms of the percentile. Like I think my neuroticism was like a 13, which in the grand scale is low, but technically because you're a 1, I'm like 13 times more neurotic than you. So that puts it into perspective how crazy it is that you're so low.
Yeah.
It's like there's somebody out there that's 90, almost 100 times more neurotic than you. That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's useful to know, and I wonder what Jillian's neuroticism is.
Yeah,
it's gotta
I'll have
be
to have her take
more
the
than
test.
1.
Yeah.
Shout out Jillian, love you, Jillian. Well, cool. We covered door to door, the big 5. We talked about our friendship. Pull up that note on your phone. What's some other?
Let's see.
Let's have you kind of direct us on some things you really want to talk about on
personality
podcast.
types, appreciating the now.
Oh, we talked about the now too. Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like entrepreneurship is an interesting one for us because that was a big reason that we bonded. So and this, shout out Dylan. This is I felt like a good topic for us to kind of riff on is just like our failures and different business ventures that we've kind of experienced and what we learned from it. And I don't know, like what,
yeah. Well, we have one shared failure.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them about the Amazon business? And
I'm trying to remember how that started. It was with Andrew Upton, a guy that we went to college with. I think shout out Andrew.
We're gonna put all the Instagram tags.
We're gonna tag everybody. We're gonna get the most viewed video.
This podcast is going straight to the moon, bro.
But he had reached out, and I think you guys had a class together and started talking about like this Amazon.
We had entrepreneurship together.
Yeah.
And the class was based around everyone was going to build an FBA Amazon business. FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon.
Right.
So we had kind of the foundation, the structure of how the business worked. Mm-hmm. And then him and I were kind of like talking in between classes of like, what if we like actually tried this? Mm-hmm. Like, this is good knowledge to know. It seems doable.
Yeah.
And
at the time, drop shipping was like huge. Like I think that was kind of going viral, and on YouTube, like a bunch of like young kids like creating these online businesses, making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars by selling products. So, and I think the Fulfillment by Amazon, like that was kind of the new thing and was kind of up on the come up. And yeah, you guys went down that rabbit hole, and I think I was just kind of there as like, hey, like Jake's also interested in this kind of stuff. Maybe he'll want to be like a partner and can kind of pitch in and help invest. And help with like the marketing, like product photography, and try to find products to list. So that was an interesting endeavor.
Yeah. Well, the format of the business is basically, it's super easy to start because it's all fulfilled by Amazon. They handle all the you go through manufacturing through a supplier, usually in China, where it's affordable, and then you basically coordinate with the supplier to get the product to the States. It goes to an Amazon warehouse. So you as a business owner, you're not having to deal with the freight as much. You're not having to actually be hands-on with the product. You're not having to create it yourself. So it's kind of hands-off, and all your job is as a FBA business owner is, I need to create a good listing with keywords, with good SEO, with good marketing campaigns to get this listing on Amazon in front of eyes. Like, Amazon's already a huge platform where everyone's flooding to buy things. So you're just basically having a listing that's appealing. That's a product you have to do some product research to make sure it's a product that isn't overly saturated, that you can differentiate your product from what's already on Amazon. And so we had a couple ideas. Tell them about the ideas we had.
The first two that I can think of was Andrew was talking about like magnet fishing. And that was something that he was interested in. I think it was like a hobby of his, and we didn't really know a whole lot about. So we sort of ran the numbers on that one. I don't think it was a huge market for that, but we were
brainstorming a lot. We were like wild hair ideas.
Can you think of any others that we didn't run with?
I like the idea of the stick clip for rock climbing. Like when you're out on a rock wall, the first hook you want to clamp in, it's nice to have a long stick to give you like a little bit of safety net when you start up the wall. And so there was only one listed on Amazon, and it was like $90. They had all the market share. And my idea was, well, $90 is kind of a lot. What if we recreated the product but did it at a much lower price point of like $30? Like, we would be beating this company on not quality, because it wouldn't be as nice, but
like a knockoff of it.
Yeah, I mean, the product, there was already, like, people already do makeshift stick clips where they'll get like a mop pole and just like attach like a clip at the end, like duct tape it, and that would take what, $5? So I'm like, to get a long stick and then have it clip into something, it's not, rocket science. We should be able to make this happen. But I think as we talk to the suppliers, we would have to actually, they had a patent on the design that they had, so we would have to circumvent around that, create a different model, and we would have had to like create prototypes, which would have cost thousands. Yeah,
with the manufacturer, it would turn into a kind of a bigger project. It probably, who knows? It probably would have done well, but it was just
we would have had
kind of more than we
capital.
Wanted to. Kind of go down. So we ended up landing on the first product was like a cigar ashtray. It was a silicone, so it was black. It was square. We'll throw a picture up. But right here,
we took some good pictures.
Yeah, I was proud of the photography work that I had done. Like, and we did like some lifestyle. So like we like posed it, and it like had a lit cigar and a cigarette or whatever. And we had run the numbers on this product. Like, there was a tool that you could use for your browser to click on these listings and see what kind of sales they're generating. And this one was doing super well, and we were able to find the same manufacturer, and basically we wanted to compete and kind of have a similar listing, maybe a little cheaper, to just be competitive and have some options in the market. So
yeah, we differentiated it by it being it was silicone, so it was different from a glass ashtray, because if it got knocked off it wouldn't break. We also uniquely paired a cigar cutter into the product. So they get a silicone ashtray with a cigar cutter, and I believe most listings were either cigar cutter or an ashtray. There wasn't like a packaging of the two.
And if you scroll down, you see like frequently bought together, and it was like the ashtray plus the cutter. It's like, oh, this is no brainer.
Yeah, and the cutter was like 50 cents.
Yeah,
from
super cheap.
Alibaba or whatever it was. And so we are moving forward with the ashtray. We're like taking pictures. We get our listing up. I write all the copy for it. We're all working on like the listing being SEO, a rich word content for people that search it. And we get the listing up. I think our price point was like $13. It was like really competitive pricing. And we start to, a big way that a product succeeds in FBA is you have to run marketing campaigns where you're pouring like $100 to get the listing at the top of the page. And we started to do that with the ashtray, and Amazon had flagged us because it was a tobacco related product. And they're
Which
like,
made no sense, because when you looked up ashtray, there would be sponsored posts. Like, we would see people advertising for these products, and we're like, what the heck? Like, we're getting shut down. Like, we can't actually promote this product for it to actually sell and make the money that we were hoping. So
yeah, it really put stops in that little venture. But then we retooled, re-strategized. We're like, okay, let's come up with a different product. And I don't know how we landed on it. It was a roundabout way. Well, we took the concept of combining unique, like a set of products, like how we had the ashtray and cigar cutter. We applied that to a men's bathroom set, and we combined like 4 products
to make a picture up there,
a unique set. Yeah. And so the bathroom set was going to be, I think, a soap dispenser, a towel, a tray,
toothbrush holder.
Yeah, it was like 4 things.
And like a cup. A cup for water or whatever to rinse out. Yeah.
And so we had like worked with a supplier, back and forth, email after email of like, this is what we're going for. What inventory do you have that meets this criteria? They had sent us prototypes, or they were like, yeah, we have the set done. Like, we're gonna send it to you. And I remember we got it, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is something
that... It was quality, yeah, it was nice.
I think I put them in my bathroom at our apartment. I'm like, yeah, I'm using them. They work. The quality's there. They're not, the nicest things, but they had a cool matte finish to them. They look quality. And so, yeah, we moved forward with that. The price point was a little higher because it was a heavier product, because it was multiple items. It increased our freight costs to get them to the U.S., so our price point was a little high at $35 when we listed it. And we had sold a good amount. Like, we had sold, we were selling them. It was cool to see like, oh, we're selling this much per week. But we never optimized the marketing to, we weren't selling them fast enough, and we were expending more on marketing.
Yeah.
And we already had sunken costs of like the initial startup, which I think was like $2,000 a piece.
Yeah, something like that.
And we just got to a point where like sales had trickled out. We couldn't afford to like invest more in the marketing, and so we kind of were just like, we're just gonna eat our losses here. And I had like 2 giant boxes in my closet of just bathroom sets. It was so random.
Oh, I remember. I mean, the cigar ashtrays, like, we had to get those sent back to us, and I think we got like 3 or 4 big boxes, and we're like, all right, let's just split it between the 3 of us. I think I still have a box at my house. Dude.
I was selling them out of my trunk for a while. I was like, I had like a bunch in my trunk, and I was selling them for like $5 a piece.
I actually did go to, I think it was like at least 3 or 4 different smoke shops, and like tried to pitch it. I'm like, hey, like what kind of ashtrays do you guys have here? I'm like, hey, like, I have these, like, I'll sell it to you at a discount just to kind of, I don't know, make some money back. But nobody was interested at all. And then the other one that I forgot of was the placemats, the woven placemats. Do you remember those? We'll throw a picture up there.
I don't even know if I have any pictures, but yeah, that was, we were trying to get that going. Woven placemats for like a dinner set, like you're going to set the table. And it was like kind of a, more of like, would suit like a country style house, like or
like beach. I mean, it was like a woven straw placemat, and it came with like 4 big ones, and then I think it came with 2 or 4
coasters,
like the coasters pads. And then the heat pads. Yeah. So it was like another set deal, and I don't know. We ran the numbers on that. It seemed like they were doing okay, but the product that we got, I think we were hoping for a better quality, and then it just kind of turned into a nightmare just working with the factory. We just couldn't get it how we wanted it, and I think we did we didn't even roll with that one. We just got the samples. So we spent like $200 on placemats.
Yeah.
We used them though. We got our money's worth out of those.
Yeah. So we failed at that. That did not take off the way we wanted it to, but I feel like it was cool to be applying like the stuff we were learning in business school.
Yeah.
And it was cool to have the potential of, oh, if these things fly off the shelf, so to speak, like all we got to do is just re-up on our product, and then all of a sudden it's like a business that just keeps going.
Yeah.
But didn't happen that way. So that was a failure that we shared, but
Yeah.
I feel like it was fun, and
It was.
it was good experience, good stuff to just learn.
Yeah.
But
What are the other business ventures you can think of?
I would say I had a successful business venture back in 2018 when I created an online course for how to use GarageBand to produce like music. It was pretty rudimentary, it's pretty elementary, but I think I had created like 6 hours of content from my course, like screen recordings of like me in GarageBand going over a concept of like mixing or elements that make up a hip hop song. Did the branding for it. I think I had an Instagram for it. And I was on Teachable. My course was listed on Udemy or whatever it's called. And I think to this day, if I look at the numbers, I think I've made like $1,000 off that, and I didn't use really any money.
Yeah.
So it was really a knowledge-based product of just like, I have knowledge in my head. I'm going to communicate this into a digital format, create a digital product, list it. And to this day, I'll get like an email from Teachable like, some guy in India bought your online course, and I'm like, that's crazy. And it's from like 2018, so I was pretty young. I was like 22 when I recorded it.
Yeah.
And those recordings are probably not as good as they would be now. But
Well, I think the biggest takeaway from something like that is it was something that you were passionate about and you were learning. So in a way, it was like, I'm going to create this service, this like idea, this course while I'm teaching myself. So like you become the expert by teaching others. I think that makes the learning curve and really just becoming an expert in a product or a service or something like that. If you can teach it to somebody, like you just level up completely.
Yeah, and it did do that for me as well. It was a good practice in like presenting an idea. So it was a lot of like self-growth in that little venture. But yeah, it was pretty niche too. Like it was how to produce music, which is broad, but it was how to produce music on GarageBand iOS, so like GarageBand either on an iPad or iPhone, and how to specifically create more hip-hop-esque songs.
Yeah.
So I had a good niche for it too.
Yeah.
And I had created some like promo videos that I thought were pretty cool at the time. And yeah, I would say it was a success. Like the fact I even sold one, I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So the fact that to this day it's a passive form of income is pretty awesome.
The other one that I can think of that we kind of worked on together, I don't know how involved you were. You might have been graduated by then, but it was part of a club that I was a part of at WKU called Enactus, where we kind of did some projects together. And this, I can't remember the first one that we did together, but the second one I feel like I made the most progress on was called Engage BG, and it was this service where it was basically a website, a portal to connect nonprofit businesses in Bowling Green that needed like community service, like they needed volunteers to help on projects. And then there was like all these students and all this Greek life, like all these fraternities and sororities that needed to fulfill these community service hours. So it was a place for kind of the two to come together, where you could kind of scroll and it was kind of like looking for a job. Like you could kind of see a listing of like, oh, like the Humane Society they're looking for 4 volunteers to come out later this month to walk the dogs or whatever. And the whole idea was for, obviously for the two to connect, to help the nonprofits like get extra help, and then for the students to actually meet their credit hours that they needed to hit, and add some competition to it. Like there was leaderboards, there was like incentives, like if you did so many hours, you'd get like a gift card to like a restaurant or something. So really cool idea. I felt like it had potential. It
Had
was
legs,
just,
yeah.
it was just one of those things where it's kind of like a senior project in a way. Like I had built the foundation and like the website and the whole idea and made the connections, but then COVID hit and graduated and just kind of fell on the back burner. But it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I hate to do this, but look at the battery here.
No.
Yeah, we're getting low. So we're going to take a little intermission. We have some questions from the audience, but we're going to pause this, take a little intermission, make sure the video is capturing this hour and a half worth of content, and then we're going to pause this and save it, and then we'll be back to answer those cues. So don't go anywhere.
And we're back.
All right. We are. Let's make sure this is right. And it looks like we're back.
Nice.
We did it. We just took a little break, charged up the laptop battery, went pee, had a little snack, got some H2O, and we're back.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel good?
It does. I was looking forward to it. I'm excited for this part. We're going to dive into some of these questions. I did take a sneak peek. Some of them made me laugh. So
yeah, we don't have too many questions here. We got a very humble amount. I think we only have about 5 or 6, but all right. So let's knock out the easy question. So somebody from an anonymous person on Instagram asked us a very serious question, a very, very important question. And the question was, go-to snack. That's all they said, was go-to snack. So what's your go-to snack?
Go-to snack, and this might sound weird, but it's goldfish. It's just a casual snack that, I don't know, it's light. It's
I think I did see a couple bags of goldfish when you got here.
The travel bags, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
big on
I
that.
don't know. I've been trying to cut back a little bit, but
What kind of goldfish? There's a lot out there.
yeah, and I've had this debate with Jillian. She's more of like a original goldfish, or like sometimes she like does the flavor blast. I think that's a little too much. I'm more of a the colored goldfish. Oddly enough, tastes a little different.
Colored goldfish. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I
What
guess
do they
that's
taste different? I feel like they're the exact same.
They're not the colored, like the green and the purple. They have a little bit of a, I don't know. They're like
Grape?
naturally no not that extreme, but they're plant based. They're colored by, I don't know, using plants or whatever. But so it does give it a little bit of a. We'll have to try it. Should I grab some? We can taste test.
We're gonna have to maybe do a poll, or someone comment if you think colored goldfish taste different. I'm gonna say no. I think
They definitely do.
Okay, we'll have to let the audience decide this very important debate here. Alrighty.
What's your go-to snack?
Oh, my go-to snack. Oh, snap. Mine's beef jerky. I'll just buy. I actually just ate some like 5 minutes ago. I'll just buy a big bag of, I think it's Trapper beef jerky, and I usually go with the teriyaki. Just classic. Can't go wrong. I will snack on that, and then recently, I've added to my repertoire of snackage. I've been doing the pistachio no shells, and the King Supers out here, which is AKA Kroger for people in the Midwest. They sell them. Every flavor's fire. I've tried the salt and vinegar, the honey roasted, the smoked barbecue, the sea salt and pepper, all fire.
Nice.
So shellless pistachios all day.
Good answer.
Thanks, man. All right, next question. A friend from my past, a good friend, Jason, Jay Bondi. Shout out Jay Bondi. He asked four questions, but we're only going to answer 2. Sorry, Jason, but these were good questions. Jason's first question is, most influential in the masses as far as people. He's basically asking who's the most influential person in our society or global economy.
I feel like you can answer this in a few different ways. Like, you could look at it as like, who's the wealthiest and has like the most control and influence in the world. I feel like my mind goes to like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, like the Mark Zuckerbergs, like some of those big tech entrepreneurs that are billionaires. Like, I feel like they have a lot of control of our lives with social media and all of that. And then when I think of the other end of like influential like podcasts, who has like a huge following, I'm a Joe Rogan listener, so I feel like he's a huge influence. He's got a massive following, and I think those are my go-to answers.
So you said Elon
Musk and Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan? Yeah, I was thinking definitely Elon, because I feel like he's just taken us to different, planets, basically, literally. Kind of stole my answer. I would say
Taylor Swift. You could throw that out there. She's influential.
Ooh, I don't know. A positive influence or negative influence? I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't have anything against T Swifties. Man, I was going to say Elon, but I'll have to switch it up and go with... Here's one. I think Kanye West is pretty influential.
Yeah.
In terms of influence. He's kind of not on a good term with our society right now. He's kind of doing all this crazy, very controversial things. He's been doing that for the past couple years, but I think his impact in the music industry since day one, since he started as an artist, he has had so many people come in behind him and work underneath him, such as Big Sean. Like, he helped Big Sean break. He worked with Kid Cudi early on. Travis
in the
Scott,
music space,
I
would agree with that.
Space. And then even just the fact that he said, like, in 2013, he's like, I will break into the fashion industry and I will be a competitor in the apparel industry. And it's like, then the Yeezys come out, like, fruition. Like, he is a visionary. He keeps talking about the things he's going to accomplish, and then he does them. And then the fact that he's doing that in multiple domains, like music, fashion, it's pretty cool. Yeah. And then let me think of someone. I mean, Rogan's influential in podcasts and then also comedy too. But let me think. Oh, I'd say Steve Jobs had a crazy
in our
influence.
lifetime. Yeah, absolutely.
And then, I mean, what makes someone influential? It's the fact that they change the way other people see the world and give people new insights and capabilities. And I feel like Steve Jobs, with what he did with literally the iPhone and the iPod and iPad, like all that, he is like influenced how, like this, for example, like this is an Apple product. I'm recording on an Apple product. Like, so I'd say Steve Jobs pretty high up there on the influence.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Can't argue with that, right? All right, good question. Thank you, Jason. Hope you're doing well, whatever you're doing. He also asked, would you rather go to outer space or the uncharted regions of the Earth, and why?
I think I'm going outer space.
You're going outer space, okay.
Yeah, I feel like uncharted parts of the Earth, in my opinion, aren't that interesting. I mean, what would be like considered an uncharted part of the Earth? Like an island somewhere or Antarctica? Yeah, it's like that's a no-go. Like, that's too cold. There's nothing there. I feel like outer space, that's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Like, and I think it's going to happen in our lifetime. That it's going to be like commercial. Like, it's going to be like a tourist thing. Like, go to the...
You think it'd be available to like the common man?
Because
it has happened.
It's going to be ultra wealthy for a while, but I think in our lifetime, I'm assuming that it's going to get cheap enough to where it's almost like a first class, like a trip to Dubai, like first class. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I see.
$10,000-$20,000 for like a quick up and down to space. Like, feel zero gravity and like, and then I I don't know. I think people will definitely like go to different planets in our lifetime. Definitely not something I'm interested in, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy here on Earth. I mean, if there's a nice setup on Mars and it makes sense and it's super safe, sure, why not? But I'm not going to be one of the first people out there. But no, I think outer space is cool. That's something that I feel like any kid, when they think
Right.
of an astronaut, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up.
Yeah. So maybe like down the road, like someone, instead of saying like, oh, I'm flying to Hawaii for a couple weeks, be like, yeah, I'm going up there to XYZ for a couple days.
Yeah,
I'll be back. I'll come back down. in a
Imagine
couple
talking to your
weeks.
family like, oh, I went into lower Earth orbit and saw the planet from outer space, or I'm going to Hawaii for the weekend.
Right. Yeah, which is cooler. Yeah. I'm gonna take the other end. I'm definitely staying right down here on Earth. I just think it'd be cool to see outer space, but I think the risk is too high for me, or I'd just be too on edge the whole time. Like literally just on the fringe of it's just too much for me. I don't think I could handle that. And I think it'd be cool to do the uncharted, because it's kind of the same concept. You're going to outer space to see something that very few people have seen in our lives. But the uncharted region of Earth, nobody's seen that. You'd be a true first. And, you could post it on Instagram. And, this is the first time it's been available. I don't know. I'd probably spin it to some Instagram post. I don't know. But I'm staying down here. Good question. All right. My buddy Aaron Vince from Pod 11. Pod 11.
That was a good one. I watched that one.
He asked favorite cartoon. What's your favorite cartoon?
Gosh.
Can I go first on this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I know you're going to probably say the one I only have one. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I would say growing up, we all know the best cartoon. It was obviously SpongeBob. We all watched that on day after day after day, right? So SpongeBob, good characters, funny premises too. I actually just went back. Last podcast I said something. Someone asked me what was the most important thing I learned in college, and it made me think of the SpongeBob scene where he's with Mrs. Puff and he's trying to think of the most important thing he learned in boating school. Do you remember that episode?
I think so, yeah.
He's like sweating like with his pencil. He's like, the most important thing I learned in boating school is, and she's like, it just needs to be 3 more words. And he's supposed to say how to drive, but he can't think of it. And then I think she jumps on his head and is like, just do it. Like, just write the extra credit. And it's just absurd. Like I went back and watched. I'm like, this is funny. Like now, but I'm going SpongeBob, the tried and true.
Okay.
Can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully you didn't steal mine.
Cool.
I think one of my favorites, and this is one that actually Jillian and I, like, we were trying to find something to watch. We're like, we got this Disney Plus. Let's see what's on here. And we were like, kind of, I don't know, it's nostalgia. We're like, kind of, all this is still here. Like, let's go back and see if it's still good.
Yeah.
And we were watching. We watched a few seasons of Fairly Odd Parents.
Ooh, yeah, I watched that.
It's a low key. It's a good one. Like they have some like really impactful life lessons, and it's just entertaining. Like a kid that could wish anything, and like the consequences, and like I don't know, seeing like what happens if you wish summer never ends or something. Or another one that I just thought of is Phineas and Ferb. That was a cool one. You were probably older, but
yeah, I was like right when I was moving.
Yeah, that one was also decent. It felt similar to like a Fairly Odd Parent, where they're doing all these adventures and they're like getting away without, they're not getting caught. But there's like something always goes wrong. Yeah, I remember that Fairly Odd Parents. I remember Vicky, the babysitter. Yeah.
And then I remember that he had parents, but you couldn't see their heads.
No, you could see them, yeah.
No.
Throw a picture up there. You can see their...
We got to settle this too. In Fairly Odd Parents, you couldn't see his parents' faces.
They were characters. They could talk, and they were animated.
We'll take it to Google. I might be wrong, but let's see.
I'm trying to think of what cartoon you're thinking
Fairly
of.
Odd Parents. Timmy Turner's parents. His name's Timmy Turner, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember this. That doesn't say anything. All right, we'll just have to let the audience settle it. I remember the show.
Throw a picture up there. They exist.
I remember. No, there was no picture. Wait. Here, I'll do this. Don't talk. Why couldn't you see Timmy Turner's parents' heads? Someone on Reddit posed a question that said, does anyone else remember when Timmy Turner's parents didn't show their faces on the show? I remember watching it and wondering what they look like, but rewatching it now, they immediately show their faces. Am I crazy? Oh, snap.
Interesting. So this, what do they call this? This is called something where it's like you remember something and it's completely different from what it actually was.
I can't remember.
Is it like the Mandela effect?
This says you're thinking of Cow and Chicken.
Yeah.
Or Ed, and Eddie. Ooh, Ed, and Eddie was a good show. Those guys were crazy. Those guys were wild.
Okay. Well, you're wrong. We'll throw the picture up there.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Sweet. And then we're coming around in the corner on the last question. We still got some battery here. This is from our good friend, Mr. Getch. Mr. Connor Getchell asked, who's your favorite ex-roommate and why is it Connor for you both? Good question, Connor. Very Connor of you to say that.
That's a great question. Well, I feel like you kind of teed it up.
Yeah.
In a way.
We were going to amend this. So me and Jake lived with Connor in Bowling Green for a good 2 or 3 years. And I was thinking that we could just share our favorite memory that we all three shared, or maybe a memory that you and Connor had. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've got one on the top of your dome.
Yeah. You go first. I'll let you go first.
Okay. So mine's very specific. I remember it like it was yesterday, but it was 2020. I believe it was still pandemic. There wasn't a lot going on. And Isaiah, shout out Zay, he was over at our apartment. And I believe you were in Texas at the time. So it was me, Zay, and Connor was there. And he decided to fly his drone. At the time, he had one of the drones that had the headset where he would be like in a different world and had this crazy controller. And the drones were insane. I'm not talking like it could fly in the house. Like, this is a high-powered piece of machinery that can go 60. I mean, how fast could they go?
Well, I think we should throw in a video just so that people can understand like how fast and freaky these things are. Like, it's not one of those drones where you kind of take off and you can let go of the controls and it hovers there and it has like all the GPS. This thing is full manual, so you have full control of it, the throttle, the tilt. If you let go, that thing is going to go wherever you left the controls. So it's a lot harder to fly, and these things are freaky fast.
Yeah, it takes a lot of skill. And so what happened was me and Isaiah were bored, and we asked Connor if he could fly his drone around for us as entertainment. And Connor was like, yeah, sure. And we're literally on our front porch in Bowling Green, and Connor's zipping up and down the like residential street, like flying around houses, hovering in people's window. And Isaiah had this truck at the time that was kind of lifted. I think he still has it, but Isaiah was like, Connor, can you fly under my truck? Like, is that possible? And Connor's like literally facing a corner with the goggles on. He's like, I got you, bro. And literally he's like, and I think we had this on tape. Either Connor or Isaiah has it on Snapchat. I'll put it right here. But Connor freaking flies this drone, whips it through underneath Isaiah's tires, and then like takes off. It was crazy. We were all laughing our butts off. It was wild. And I just remember I was like, Connor, you are a savage for that, dude. It's like so much skill. But yeah, that's my favorite Connor story.
Yeah. I feel like I have so many funny ones. I guess I'll break it up into two. I have one from the dorms and then one from when we lived like together.
Okay.
So the one from the dorms, Connor and I got this Alexa. I think I got it from a Christmas present or whatever. And we were trying to figure out how to customize this thing. And to this day, you can ask my Alexa at my house, hey Alexa, like, what's my daily fact? And it says the most absurd stuff. I can't even think of, like, one of them, like, she'll read the script of the B movie. Like it's
What?
like really oddball stuff.
It
And
would
then
take like a long time. Does she just start rattling off like the first
yeah,
scene?
she does. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then you can ask her like, "Hey Alexa, like what's up, bitch?" And then she'll like cuss you out. Like she'll say it like an F-bomb. Like we were able to like get around. Like Connor was able to put in some code to get around the blocks that they had on not letting her curse, to where she'll like say the F-bomb. She'll say
He like
all kinds of-
jailbroke it, kind of hacked
yeah.
it.
So that was always fun to show that off when people were in the
Oh,
dorms.
yeah.
But
You could get her to talk dirty to you, probably
Yeah.
too. Hell yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback a little bit off of the drone memories Connor and I had. So I think it was after my first summer, I had made a little bit of money and was just like, man, there's all these drone videos I see on social media, and it's like so cinematic. They're diving down a mountain, and these guys are wearing goggles, and like it's like you're in the pilot seat of this drone. And I'm like, man, that's cool. I'm gonna get one of those. So I got one. Connor saw how cool it was. He ended up getting one. So both of us have these drones and these goggles, and we went to so many different parks, and we went to like a water park that like during the off season in the winter time, to where we were chasing each other with these drones, like swooping under the slides and stuff. And I think the most memorable video that we made was one where we got a ton of snow in Bowling Green, and we had our buddy Ryan McComas in town, and he had this big giant cinema camera, and we decided to make a video together. And so we took my truck out, and we're like drifting it in the snow, and we're creating this video. We went to this industrial park where there's like these huge, you went there, there's like these big concrete dividers and like cylinders, and Connor's flying the drone and like chasing the truck, and we ended up doing it to where I was wearing the goggles driving my truck, and he was flying the drone. So it was like driving the car third person. So it was
awesome.
a bunch of fun memories like that with Connor. Just always creative, always wanting to make a video, or good times. Thanks,
Yeah.
Connor.
Yeah. Always going to like get shots, or I remember that one time, I think it was like pretty early on, we all moved in. You guys were like, Alec, like be a model for us. Like we're just gonna go take pictures in this like, it was this weird little like construction area. But I just thought that was cool. And then you guys started making videos and stuff, or you guys already had been making videos. But I just remember I always like to tag along when you guys were flying drones. Like it was just so fun. I remember one time we were at the park, and you both had drones that had headsets, and you guys sat in the front seats, and I was in the back, and you guys were just like in a different world.
Yeah, probably completely nerding out.
Yeah, he kind of was like, my Apex, I don't know, he was saying like some technical stuff. I'm like, it's going right over my head. I don't know what you guys are doing. But yeah, good times. But yeah, I believe that was all the questions that we had. Do you have any questions for me? Because I got a question for you. Do you have anything that you want to know?
I guess what do you view this podcast kind of evolving into? Like what's your goal with the podcast, like this project that you're working on?
Good question. I would say my goal is for it to be a creative outlet, for a way for me to develop my personality and voice online. Definitely shooting and aiming at creating a personal brand. I feel like I want to take that route of it being a personal brand, because I think that's the most sustainable. It's just me. If I were to be like, let's say I was wanting to niche down and be like, I'm just gonna be the writing guy, like I just focus on writing, it'd be a good niche, and I think I would be good at that. But I think I have a lot of other things that I'm interested in, and I want to, keep my cast a wide net and kind of experiment for like the first year of the podcast. So I'm really not too worried about like how many views am I getting. I look at it, but it's not like a goal. My goal is to keep doing it. My goal is to be more expressive, get more comfortable with doing these things, and mainly to experiment and keep it a creative thing, because it's super fun for me, and because I'm enjoying it so much, I think it will be sustainable over time. As soon as I start like not enjoying it because I'm trying to box myself in, I have to talk about this and only this, I don't think I would do it for long term. I think I'd get burnt out. So I like that it's something that's widespread still.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then question for you. I think Asia's. Did you hear the door?
Yeah, here she comes.
Asia, you're on the podcast. We're wrapping it up. We've been going for 2 hours.
Yeah, almost 2 hours.
We got 4 more minutes here. All right, final question for you. I wanted to ask you kind of a similar question. What's like the vision for what you're working on with Door-to-Door Financial? Like, what's the long-term plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's been an interesting project. I've been working on this less than a year. For those of you that don't know, since I had a background in door-to-door sales, I've since transitioned out of that space and have been building this brand and this business. Basically, it's financial education and it's basically financial planning for people in the door-to-door space. So I just know so many young people that are crushing it, making incredible money at such a young age, but not a lot of them have any direction. They don't have any disciplines. They have nothing really to shoot for. And they end up just kind of getting into bad habits, bad spending habits, and lifestyle inflation. I mean, when you work 6 months and make $100K, like you're going to spend that money if you're 20 years old. So really just helping these guys think long term, like, hey, like, how can I use this money to put myself in a better place to where I don't have to knock on doors the rest of my life. Investing in real estate, investing in the stock market, making sure that I'm looking at the holistic picture of my financial plan, tax planning. So I won't bore you guys with this, but it's definitely something I'm really passionate about, and I've seen a ton of growth and success personally and in the brand, just connecting with so many cool people in this industry. There's a huge community in the door-to-door space, so it's been really cool to connect with the 1%, the people that are crushing it, and really create this brand to make this community a better space. So continuing to grow that. And
I love the angle you're taking on it, because I feel like we kept in touch when you were creating or thinking about how you're going to find your footing in the financial planning space. And I love that you've kind of pivoted towards the door-to-door industry, because that's where you have expertise and knowledge. You actually have real world experience in it. And obviously me being in door-to-door, it's like I'm more likely to support you because you're speaking to, people like me and Jack and all the other guys, Dylan, Gavin, Laddie, like all those guys. And so, but yeah, your Instagram's fire. If you're not following Door-to-Door Financial on Instagram, look up Door-to-Door Financial. Jake's got this content down, son. He's like, the branding's on point. It's all cohesive, and it's like really, really applicable and very useful stuff to anybody.
Know about, I mean, even
anybody,
if you're not in door-to-door. And that's the cool thing is my idea of this is to initially work with door-to-door guys, but those guys are so motivated and entrepreneurial that a lot of these guys are going to grow out of the door-to-door space and just be these successful business owners and entrepreneurs. So that's ultimately what I want to create out of this, and my kind of career path and in finance is to just work with like-minded individuals, just people that are very driven, business-minded, entrepreneurship. So I feel like it's a good space to kind of create a brand like that, a company like that.
Yeah, and it's something that you're networking and meeting cool people all the time.
Yeah,
it's it's really great, and I'm rooting for you, dude. I want that to keep growing. So that's why I'm plugging you on my own podcast, Door-to-Door Financial. We'll put the link right here somewhere. But yeah, dude, 2 hours on the dot. We did it.
Let's go. let's put a bow on this thing.
Let's put a bow on it. That was Pod 24. Me and Jake, one of my best friends of all time, college roomies, failed business partners, door-to-door reps. You already know. You guys heard it here first. Coming to you straight from Colorado Springs. It's about 4:30 here, and we're about to go see Jordan Peterson down at Pikes Peak Center. So in 2 hours from now, we'll be getting the word from the man himself, Mr. JP. And yeah, dude, this was fun. I'm glad you agreed to do this.
No, I was looking forward to this. I appreciate it.
Anything else you want to tell the people?
That's all I got. Live your life, and just remember, all your problems are temporary. So Don't sweat it.
Yep. Be low on neuroticism. And can you give us one, give me the keys? Can you tell them to?
Yo, give me the keys, bro.
There it is. Pod 24. Let's go.
Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock.